I'd like to call the order of the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners for Thursday, March 20th, 2025. At the order. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions or comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. The Board of Commissioners convening as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting, we convene as any of these boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. This meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. All commissioners are in chambers. Move to the invocation given by Gary Lees of the Calvary Chapel, Dayton Valley.
Good morning. Throughout all of human history, King Solomon was recognized as the wisest man who ever lived. The source of his wisdom was not of man, but from God. And God endowed Solomon with everything he needed to rule over the house of Israel. And so Solomon's words serve as foundational truths concerning on how we are to govern our lives and the lives of those we serve and protect. Psalm 127 says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain." Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you asking for your wisdom and your guidance in the building of this house. Lord, that we would continue to look to you as the source of what is right, what is just, and what is good. Lord, we acknowledge the building of this house is hard work and it requires diligence and the adherence to the Master's plan. So, Lord, we have no expectation of success without your divine inspiration, your direction, your guidance, and assistance. Lord, we ask for your protection and your strength in keeping us vigilant in our responsibility as watchmen, that we would be attentive to the charge and the responsibility to stay awake in the protection of our community, that we would look to you and your holy scripture as the source of strength and the means to fulfill our duty to protect the citizens of Lyon County. Lord, I also ask that your continued hand of blessing and protection would be on all of those who build and protect this community, keeping them and their families safe from harm, and that you would bless them and keep them in your care. Lord, may it be that our labors would never be in vain, and these things we pray in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pastor Nelly, will you please lead us in pledge of allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do our first public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item, but before the board takes any action. Any public participation? Seeing none online. Case number 5 for possible action, review and adoption of the agenda, and it has been requested that 12C be removed.
Chairman Carl, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented, pulling 12C.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, seconded by Commissioner Castanelli. Any public participation? Seeing none. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes unanimously. 6, time certain for 9 a.m. for presentation only. A presentation given by Gina Armstrong, representing the Comfort House, to spread awareness of the cause and mission of their organization. And I see Gina is online. Is there someone in chambers to present this, or is it going to be by online?
I believe online.
Okay, go ahead, Gina.
Hi, thank you guys so much for letting me be here. I wanted so much to go in person, and then I had a foster child that was sick today. So I thought that was very appropriate because I am here to talk about that. So I'm a professional school counselor for Lyon County School District. I've been there since 2018. And because of my job, obviously, I started noticing that all my students that would get removed from their homes by DCFS or, for some reason, would end up in other cities, in other counties, and other schools. And of course, trying to follow those kids and stuff, I saw the outcomes of that, moving around and leaving your community. So eventually I came up with the idea of the Comfort House, which I want it to be, so that we can keep Lyon County kids in Lyon County schools, and also keep our kids here in our community when something happens and their family gets disrupted for some amount of time. And then, of course, in addition to that, I want a safe place for my kids to go, and I want it to be supportive, and I want it to be trauma informed, and I want it to be the best possible care that they can get. And I want it to be an experience that, even if it's a bad experience for them because they're away from their family, it can actually change their life for the better, hopefully. So I want to see the foster care system changed, really. And I want our kids from Lyon County and beyond, in Northern Nevada, to come out of the foster care system with a better chance at success than they have now. It unfortunately it doesn't look good. It hasn't been good for a long time. And I believe we can change it with a trauma-informed way of life that we've proposed for the Comfort House. And then, so we got an angel donor last year, amazingly, sent down from heaven. And we were able to purchase our home in Silver Springs for cash. And it's a 6-bedroom home. It's got 3,200 square feet. It's got 5 acres. It's amazing. We were able to completely remodel it to make it beautiful for the kids, and have no expenses, obviously, other than, propane and all that stuff, but no house payment or anything. And the house in the paperwork said that if Comfort House for some reason doesn't make it, this property is only here to serve Northern Nevada kids. So whoever takes it after me has to be serving Northern Nevada kids. So it's going to stay in our community. It's going to stay here helping. So even if I can't make this work, I feel good about the fact that this place is always going to be here. But anyway, so we've opened, and I have 2 kids so far. I have a 3rd grader and a 6th grader. And we're just moving along. We're just trying to go as we go, trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do everything. Oh, I also got a contract with UNR. They're going to be sending their social worker students who are going into internship for their master's or their bachelor's are going to do their internship and their practicum here at Comfort House. So that'll give us a lot of extra really qualified people to be able to help run the program, and not to cost, obviously is not going to cost us anything except time and training them. So it's going to be wonderful. But I wanted to just let you know we were here. We can have up to 8 kids at a time, depending. There's only 6 bedrooms, so we don't want to put obviously a bunch of kids in one room unless we have to, like their siblings or something. So normally we would only want 1 or 2 kids in a room, preferably 1. But we would also, I mean, looking way in the future, we see it as 1 house in each of the communities. So Silver Springs, Dayton, Fernley, Yerington, we need a house that gets up, that has up to 8 kids in each of those houses. And that would be perfect for what we're seeing as far as the numbers are looking for how many foster kids and kids in DCFS there are now in Lyon County. So I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody have a comment or question for Gina? Okay, we see nothing in the room. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for bringing attention to it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to move on to 6B, time certain at 9:10 a.m. for presentation only. Update from Kendra Kostolecki from Waste Management of Nevada Incorporated on the process of Silver Springs Transfer Station and the other matters related to solid waste franchise agreement with Lyon County. Go ahead, Kendra.
Thank you. And I have just a couple of slides for you this morning. Do I have control? Fair enough. Thank you. Chair Keller and members of the board, thank you for inviting us back to give you an update on the Silver Springs Transfer Station and some improvements we're making to the neighborhood cleanup program. Website, please. Perfect. Thank you. So it's been about 6 months since we were last here to visit you. And at that time, we'd made an offer on this property at 2425 Almond Drive in Silver Springs. There was a contingency plan based on us getting the approval of a conditional use permit, which, as you know, was granted. So we're pretty excited about that. And now WM does own this property and has been working on that site plan. Next slide, please. So the structure itself is progressing through the plan or site development, and it's currently about 50%. So that first line there where I say structure is in final design, that was my understanding of what the conversation was. Our engineer asked me to revise that to 50%, just to be clear. So a couple of expected benchmarks from our director of construction are that permitting is expected to be done in June and then groundbreaking in mid to late fall. So we are on track for completion by March 2026, which I know is the important date for you guys. Next slide, please. So we are making a few changes to the neighborhood cleanup program this year. After we did it, we had some feedback from our customers, which were, well, I'll be specific. Last year on the left-hand side, you can see we sent out some program rules and a couple of stickers. So people could put those stickers on their big items for pickup. They had to call in and let us know so that our drivers could anticipate that. We could send out a different truck to pick that up. And then outside of those 2 items that were included with their services, they could put something else out for about $11 per item for collection on their pickup day. But the feedback that we got from our customers, was that they didn't know, or they forgot the program dates, forgot that the program was happening, or they lost their stickers, or that they had something now, but they didn't have anything during the program dates. So we decided to go ahead and revise that for 2025. So customers can call in anytime to schedule their item pickups, and 2 items will be collected at no charge or included in their rate. And then anything else that they're going to set out, we still want to know about it so we can anticipate it's in the right truck and the right people, but that's going to be at $11.52 per item. And there's no stickers required. So just to be clear, they can do it all in one day, or they can do a couple this day, call it a couple of months and have a couple more picked up. So we hope that that will improve that service experience for them and, you know, keep big items from ending up in open spaces. Next slide, please. And so we just want to remind everybody that we are in the community and there's a couple of ways that you can come and see us. You can come and visit us in person in Dayton, Fernley, and Carson City until we get our Silver Springs location, and then you'll be able to stop by there too. You can reach us by phone. We do have 2 different phone lines for different sides of the county. Just because if you're in Fernley, you want to call that North Lyon line, and if you're closer to Carson City, you'll want to call that South Lyon line. But if you can call either, and we will help you. And then you can reach us online too. And if you have any questions, well, next slide, please. Sorry. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them or attempt to.
Mr. Davidson. Thanks, Chair Keller. Kendra, I appreciate you being here. And you and Waste Management are very fortunate because you get to come here and present, not to hold yourselves accountable, but to help us keep ourselves accountable on promises that we delivered to the community. So thank you for your time.
Just off subject a little bit, tires that are tossed, you know, I live near the Plymouth ditch and stuff gets tossed in there. Who do we call to get rid of those tires, and is it part of the contract for the year? I can't remember. It seems like tires were part of it for a year.
Yeah, so one bulk item is 4 tires.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, we're going to move on to Commissioners County Manager Report. I'll start to my left, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Attended a meeting with Fernley City Attorney and the Municipal Court Judge Miss Matthews, Lori Matthews. That was excellent information. Miss Jensen and Miss Matthews did a great job. Just finished up a 100-head class. I had 20 kids and adults get turned loose on the upcoming draw. And just a heads up, March 26th, college and career fair at Fernley High School. In the past, our DA and Sheriff's Office have been there in attendance. We've appreciated that, various fire departments. And I believe this year we've got 57 signed up so far, so should be an excellent turnout. And that is again March 26th, next week, if you're interested. That's all.
Commissioner Hendricks.
I attended the National Association of Counties Public Land Steering Committee, the Quad Counties Legislative Commission, met with the director of NNDA, and last night attended the Carson Water Subconservancy District Board meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Castanelli.
Thank you. I attended a couple of the steering committees meetings for the Sutra Tunnel 3D grant. We conducted another public information meeting in Dayton. So that's going pretty well. Attended the Campo board meeting, and for Lyon County, we approved our transportation improvement program that goes through 2028, and it did include some items for Lyon County. We knew about the US 50 pavement rehabilitation or pavement preservation project, whatever they call that. But so that's in there. We knew about that one, but it also included the planning and preliminary engineering for the construction of the new bridge in Dayton. So I was excited to see that on there as well. That's it.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Well, we had a meeting today, last week,
discussing Valley View Cemetery. There's a group here in Mason Valley. I'd like to get a group together to be able to go out there and take care of that cemetery from time to time during the year, similar to what happens in Smith Valley. And by the way, April 12th is a cleanup day at the Hillcrest Cemetery in Smith Valley. So there'll be 20 to 30 people or more out there cleaning that cemetery up. Also had planning commission meeting, attended that. Smith Valley Friends of the Library dinner went off very, very well last week. Definitely had a big group there and a lot of money raised for the library. The other night, I was a judge for the Rotary Smith Valley District 5190 speech contest. And they have different groups throughout the county and the state and the country that compete in speech contest, and how they the young kids have a chance to help their communities and work with the Rotary to get several things done in each of their own communities. So that takes care of that.
Thank you. I'd like to apologize to everybody for not making it to the last meeting. I got sick, went to Washington DC, and I guess when you go to a place where 3,000 counties are going to be, and you shake hands with a lot of people and everything else, when I ended up being sick. So I apologize for not being here. I understand that my fellow commissioner kind of raised the bar on me, so we'll do what we can to lower that bar back down. So I'll work hard on it.
You raised it high enough, Scott. You can get under it.
Okay. I don't know if Commissioner Hendricks talked about the meeting that we had back up on NACO, but one of the things that we did do, I sit on the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Steering Committee. She sits on the Public Lands Steering Committee. And one of the resolutions that we both co-sponsored in our separate committees was a resolution that the federal government would respect our state, tribal, and county laws and work in cooperation with us. And it was mostly concerning the energy sector. So we're looking at the solar fields and transmission lines, and that passed. And so now that's part of the policy for national NACO when they talk to our congressman and our Senate. And I had a great time up there. I did meet with some of the staff from the White House, got their personal phone numbers to help us with our future projects. So we got a direct line, especially the bridge in Dayton. But our bills forward, our requests, and I think it was $1.6 million that we requested, and that looked favorable. And also we still working on the public lands. I did the last week or so, I've been at the state legislature constantly. Seems like every day they're dropping us a new present that we can all be proud of, I guess. That's consuming a lot of the time that I've had. I've also been to the Lyon County Transportation Committee meeting, and I also attended the Friendly City Council last night. And also talked to our NNDA, had a meeting with them. And I do want us to work for getting the Public Works, whoever sits on Public Works, I think it's Commissioner Jackson, an update of knowledge about that, because I think there's some funding that's coming forward that we could use for our county. So I want to hear more about that. And that's it. That's all I got. County manager.
Good morning, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager of the Nevada Works Board, and Mr. Sudich to get me in contact with the gentleman there, so we'll be working on that to get going on that.
I believe they canceled the last meeting.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know I don't know that they've had regular meetings, and so I think they're trying to change that.
Yeah, it's not Public Works.
Yeah. Anyway, I too have been reviewing a lot of legislation. I really want to thank Taylor Allison. She's been doing an amazing job for us. as our government affairs director. I know that's taken up a ton of her time. And we're gonna go over some stuff this afternoon or today, at the meeting, so. We'll go from there. But that has taken up a lot of my time. I did want to let the board know we are working on scheduling our open meeting law training that we do annually for the citizen advisory boards. And so that's looking like that's going to happen sometime in April or early May. So get more information out to the board on that as soon as we have the date finalized. Get that all coordinated. And then I'm excited to introduce Martha Tapia, who is my new administrative assistant. I wanted to bring Martha up and introduce her to the board and let her introduce herself. So
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Like Andrew said, my name is Martha Tapia. I've been an employee with Lyon County for going on 17 years. During that time, I worked for the Fernley Justice Court. I'm excited and thankful for my new position in the county manager's office. I look forward to working with each of you, with Andrew, and all the wonderful employees I've met since I've been here for the last week and a half. Thank you.
very excited to have Martha here and wanted to thank her for taking a moment to introduce herself. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
Thank
you. Welcome, Martha. It brings us to elected officials reports. Do we have any elected officials? Appointed officials reports.
Morning, Commissioners. Doug Homestead, Facility Director for the record. I want to welcome Martha too. I worked with her in Fernley. She's a great lady, and I think she'll do a good job here. And I want to thank Kendra for any help anytime I have a problem with dumpsters or need more or whatever or less. She's right there and helps us right out. So thank you. I've got a little slide presentation I'm going to show you here in a minute, but I first want to go over a few things that were going on in the county. I want to thank Dave, Mr. Talk today, for coming down for that citizen group meeting that we had for the cemeteries. Hopefully we can get something going there. We're busy installing new water lines at the Yankee Cemetery. District Court exit plan just got its final approval from the Nevada State Fire Marshal. So hopefully by end of April, we're done with that project. Hopefully we can put that one to bed. Fernley Justice Court project is well underway. If you've been by there, all the walls are tore down. All we've left is the roof. So we're looking forward to that. Getting closed up here soon. We put a new sign on the Mount House Community Center. So I know that'll make Linda happy. So got that done. Park crews have been busy doing fuel reduction burning at the Santa Maria open spaces the last few days, trying to get some of the danger taken out of there before we have a big fire down there. Been busy with getting the fields ready for spring sports in the parks. Kay Winter's plaque, dedication plaque for our park has been ordered. Should be here in 5 to 8 weeks. So you guys have to decide if you want to have some type of ceremony or whatever. Historical Society has asked me if we're going to do something with that. Leroy Goodman's plaque, I'm going to be ordering that soon as I find out if I'm going to put it inside or outside after I find a proper location for it. And then if I could bring the slides up for me. We're dealing with a lot of vandalism in the parks. I'm asking that main reason I'm here today is I'm asking the citizens for their help to help us with this. If you see damage being done to our parks, please stop them or at least report them. We need your help. Here's some slides that will give you a small glimpse of what we were dealing with weekly. We just had the bathroom and snack shop in Mark Twain Park damaged about 3 weeks ago, I think it was, $10,000 to $15,000. They went in, they broke all the doors, went up on the roof, tore the roof jacks off, put paint all over the walls on the roof. So the contractor went out there Monday to remeasure the door so he can get them ordered. And when he went into the bathroom, if you go to the next slide. Well, this is just core, still some of Mark Twain. Well, next slide. They dropped concrete blocks down in that center picture there, and through the roof vent and broke off the urinal on the wall. So now we have more damage to fix. Graffiti everywhere. Next slide. I hid some of the words so you can see them. They built fire in the corner of there where they threw some dirt on it, put it out. Trying to pry the locks off the doors. Next slide. Get some more. They deal with this weekly, graffiti. I also want to thank the sheriff. His deputies were on. They caught the 2 kids that did the $15,000 worth of damage, and we're pressing charges. Hopefully, get restitution. So maybe the word will get out that we're not playing around. So, thank the sheriff for that. Next slide. This is Stagecoach Community Center. Someone left a motorcycle there. They had about 15 people from about, let's see, 2 weekends ago, maybe it was. Come up and clean that whole area along the street there by the flagpole. They're all nice and clean. My guy went out there and ruined the pile of weeds they'd piled up, and within an hour, this boat appeared. So they could see the drag marks from about a mile away where they drug it down the road and pulled it up there. The sheriff's got that out of there for us, so we appreciate that. Next slide. The state ball field, someone threw a rock through the sign. We got it repaired, so it's working. That second picture there, it's the little pieces on there. That's those nice tops on the garbage cans. So water and stuff's going, and they busted them all up, and they're there. Next slide. This is what we found at the Dayton rodeo grounds earlier this year. We ended up taking a backhoe and punching the motorhome up and getting it hauled away. Next slide. This was Spud Field, and this, I think last year in the fall, that trailer appeared with a bunch of, we don't know, just paint or whatever. So we had that removed. And then just the other day, this car appeared, abandoned car. Next slide. And then this is the Dayton Skate Park. I think that's it. So.
Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you. Are there serial numbers on the boat, vehicles, trailer that we can track some of these clowns?
I worked code enforcement when I first started in the county, and the problem is it's probably been sold 6 times and never been registered. So I contacted the owner once on one of them when I was in that position, and he said, I sold that 5 years ago.
Can he provide proof of that?
No, probably not.
And then do we have cameras up on any of these?
That's our parks guy over there, Judge Smith, he's asking for camera systems. Of course, that all costs money.
Right.
I don't know if I can use park tax for that for sure. I'll check with Josh on that.
Is there
Then we have to have internet, or Wi-Fi or something that we can have recorded. Because like I can get on my computer now and look at the Spurnley Senior Center or the any of the senior centers, and I have, I can go back a year and check what's going on there.
right? I just know there's big game cameras that can send pictures right on the spot. I'm sure do that. I don't know that would, but just even if it's just temporary to catch, get someone to put them up in the afternoon,
We
evening.
got some of those, and the problem is you don't know about it till, maybe a week later. Once we go check the bathrooms or something. And man, trying to decide if that's the person that actually did it. Because you can't put one inside the restrooms, because
Right.
when this restrooms were destroyed, they got into someone forgot to lock the restrooms. And they went in there and broke every toilet and tore the walls down and everything inside in the bathroom. But you can't put a camera inside a restroom. So, I mean, we're open for suggestions. But it's something that needs addressed.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. And I was curious, are you seeing an increase in this kind of vandalism, or is this kind of the norm, or?
I think we've seen an increase of more destructive stuff,
Mhm.
you know. We're breaking slides on the kids' stuff, you know, big kids get up there and jump through this plastic slide and we have to replace the slide or something.
Okay, and this might not be the time or place for this question, but I attended the advisory board, the last advisory board meeting at Mound House, and saw the sign, and it looks great. There's a couple comments from the public there that, you know, that we got this nice big sign on the building, but they feel like they're not able to utilize the community center. Something they asked me something about their insurance, and is that true, or not able to use it other than for the?
It has to be county business, or otherwise, if you rent the facility,
Okay,
you want to use it, you have to have liability insurance.
so if that
All of our facilities are like that.
makes sense, so if the community wanted to have some kind of a function there,
Yeah, they have to.
then there is a,
Policy and present.
right, okay, all right, that answers that, thank you.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Homestead. Got a text last night that there was a yellow jacket nest in the playground equipment at the park in Dressler Park. I'll swing by there on my way home and
There today.
knock it down. If you're there, you know, before I get there, then, you know, check it out. But somebody, I guess, it saw it, and their kid couldn't play on the playground equipment, which I think we paid like $25,000 for 2 years ago.
But the playground equipment, things are going for about $85,000 now. Where it used to be 20 or 30.
Yeah.
About $85,000.
But anyway, we'll get that thing.
Dated in the county, they've got 3 places.
If you're out there, look at it. Otherwise, I'll swing by and knock it down.
All right.
You see me in the hospital, it's because I got stung. I don't have my EpiPen with me.
So to follow up on some of what my fellow commissioners have commented on and what you've brought up. In the past, we seem to see more vandalism during like spring break or right the first part of summer. When they first get out of school, kids get out. Are you seeing that more, or is it continuous?
It's over in Mark Twain is continual. And you know, we're even thinking about putting an electric gate on that we can close from dawn to dusk. I mean, dusk to dawn. But still, people can jump over the gate, so.
Or break the
Yeah, exactly.
break it. As far as cameras, as far as park tax, we bought cameras in the past. So unless laws have changed, you still talk to Josh, but that's what we did. But technology now is a lot better than what we used to have. And so I think that'd make a lot of sense. As far as sponsor, you can get a sponsor to help you with the insurance on those groups, because you just get a writer with a sponsor. That's what we've been doing in the past. We saw a lot of that happening. And also the more use we get in the parks seems to put the vandalism down. It's like if we get more programs, more use in the park. So I do have some information that hopefully I'll bring to the parks as soon as I get it about maybe addressing that. So
Yeah, we get a lot of complaints from people, why aren't the bathrooms unlocked? Well, if we unlock them, they'll just be destroyed. So you can go check out, anybody can go check out a key from the office in Dayton, and we're more willing to give you the key. We just ask that you lock it up when you're done. You know, if the mother that takes her kid over there all the time to play, they can come get a key. You know, so.
fantastic. Any other question?
No.
Commissioner Cassidy.
Thank you. One more question. The fence there and Dayton at the Granite Point that went across by the senior center. We've had a lot of questions about if we could put some kind of pedestrian, like a U configuration there or something could be done to still allow.
I talked to someone from that board the other day. He called me asking about it, what we could do.
Mhm.
And he just assumed it was for like motorcycle and bike traffic, but it's not.
Right.
It's, we've had, the libraries complain about kids hiding behind the library. Doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
And, so a gate's not gonna work.
Yeah.
In fact, 2 years ago, when we sat in the senior center. Discussing this with them, all with the senior center and the library. 2 kids came up and grabbed one of the signs right by the windows there. And we're yanking, trying to pull the sign off the pole. And we were wrapped on one and they just scattered right through that spot there.
Yeah.
My solution is we move the fence out 3 feet away and run it along our property line. So there's like a 3-foot walkway between our property line and the other person's property line. And get a fence extended past the library.
Yeah,
So they have to at least go around the library instead of going between them.
sure.
To kind of slow that down, but the guy was really, I said, we're willing to work with you guys, but you gotta take some citizen interest in the project.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other comments?
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Still on appointed officials reports. Okay, not seeing anybody rush up. We'll go to advisory board. I thought Amanda Bernand had her hand up earlier. She did, and now we'll go to advisory report. So, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amanda.
Good morning, Amanda Bernand. I'm the Stagecoach Citizens Advisory Board Vice Chair. And I wanted to touch on our community center cleanup day. The CAB approved a Stagecoach Community Center cleanup day back at our January 2nd, 2025 meeting. And we did have it on the agenda for the next 2 months. And it was at March 8th at 10 a.m. was the date and time selected. And this activity was to get the community involved in our buildings and clean up, and also to renew and clean up around the World War II Pearl Harbor Memorial that's located in front of the Stagecoach Community Center. We did email the county some pictures of before, during, and after that hopefully you got so you can see the pictures. But the cleanup day was a success. The March 8th was a lovely day weather-wise. And CAB board members and residents, a total of 15 people, mostly from Stagecoach, but also from Silver Springs and Yerington, and 2 tractors showed up to help do this cleanup. We did also have one additional person who thought it started at 8, and he came with a tractor, got a great start for us, but we don't know who this was. The remaining tractor that arrived at 10 worked on removing and piling the weeds. The other residents removed weeds around the flagpole and the memorial. And we also had to remove some of the memorial so it could be taken home and painted. Oh, there's the pictures. That's a cleanup crew that you're seeing on the picture. So right now, the CAB chair, Charles Shirley, is still working on painting some of that memorial, and we'll get it put back up. So on Monday, March 10th, the county burned the weed piles. And as Doug touched on later the same day, and this was within a 2-hour period, I guess the weed burning was completed at noon. I drove by at 2 and saw that junk boat full of garbage that they dumped there. We would like to thank the Lyon County Sheriff Office for getting out there the following day and getting that removed. And we'd also like to thank Doug Homestead and Judge Smith for their assistance with this cleanup day, and also Judge for burning the weeds. And lastly, we'd like to thank the residents of our great community for turning out and getting this done. So the Stagecoach Citizens Advisory Board, the community, and the county, we're going to continue to work to improve the community center and our memorial and the aesthetics in this area, because although it's in the center of Stagecoach, it is a portal to our community. Thank you.
Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. Action will be taken on all items. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted on by the Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Does anybody have an item they want to pull? Public comment? Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda items 11A through 11J.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Brings us to number 12, community development for presentation only. A presentation by the Community Development Director on matters related to code enforcement, compliance efforts, and programs. Go ahead.
Mayor Commissioners, Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. So this presentation is here to highlight Lyon County staff's code enforcement compliance efforts and programs up until February. Today I wanted to update the board again on those key programs and initiatives that support compliance and community cleanup. So we'd like to first take a moment to thank our dedicated partners. So first off, Lyon County Human Services, Lyon County Sheriff's Office, Lyon County Juvenile Probation Office, Carson Demolition, Greystone Unlimited, Reedhall Junk Removal, Waste Management, and Central Lyon Fire Protection District. Their collaboration has been instrumental in allowing us to move forward with our compliance efforts. I do want to explicitly thank our code enforcement officer, Joseph Sanchez, for all his dedicated efforts. These programs would not have their effectiveness if he wasn't here working for the county. We surely do appreciate him. So February statistics. So I first want to highlight some of these statistics. So this shows a breakdown of the type of complaints and the number of complaints in each respective category. You can see accumulation of junk, trash, and debris is our most prevalent complaint, and you'll see that narrative kind of move forward throughout the presentation. So compliance activity. So this is just a breakdown of all the complaints in our system currently. From a compliance activity perspective, you can see we reached about 50% willful compliance on those cases, and those outstanding violations are due to an unwillingness to comply or just a lack of communication for us to even start initiating that communication. The legal action is a result of that case remaining non-compliant given the full 60 days, so initial 30-day notice, a follow-up letter granting an additional 30 days, and then at that point we take it to the DA's office. So that's where that case had ended up. Total open cases. So this is a breakdown based on the communities within Lyon County for which hold a certain percentage amount of the cases. It is noted here that Silver Springs is definitely our highest caseload, followed by Mark Twain and then Mason Valley and Dayton. Total open cases. So this graphic represents the total open cases relative to the violation category. As noted before, accumulation of junk, debris, trash is the respective category for which a majority of our cases fall into, resulting in 24 of the 39 open cases currently. And this is kind of the our pride and joy that community development, working with Joseph Sanchez. Human Services has been a big part of this program. So we want to introduce our SWAP program. So it's one that's, again, we've worked closely with Human Services to develop. We've coined the name SWAP program, which stands for Sustainable Waste Action Program. So the goal is to establish a program for eligible property owners to provide property cleanup services. The process, so we did work with Human Services to establish a pretty good process, and it's been working really good for us moving forward. So starts off, we'll review the complaint for garbage, refuse, debris, and abandoned vehicles. The code enforcement officer who, like I said, Joseph Sanchez, establishes that communication with those property owners and pursues the complaint for code compliance initially, see if we can get there. And then we start kind of unveiling those layers, which maybe allow them to fall within this program, which we're going to touch on. So after that, we identify the property owners potentially being eligible candidate for the SWAP program, and we submit that referral to Lyon County Human Services to process eligibility. So those eligibility requirements are at or below the 200% poverty level, household with children under 18 or adults over 60 who are at risk, physical disability, mental disability. And then once that eligibility is determined, the code enforcement officer will proceed with scheduling that cleanup services with the property owner, utilizing third-party contractors, and this is all done via grant funds through Human Services, so at no cost to the county. So the SWAP program has been utilized at 5 different locations throughout Lyon County. Like I said, it is funded through available grants. I do want to preface that, like I said, the program is majority grant funded and has had the effectiveness it has had due to that grant funding being existent. So the community development department will work to keep identifying grants that we can utilize moving forward to make this program sustainable. But that's been our priority. It's been super helpful in taking care of those properties that are massive, cases for us where we just don't have the resources to go in and clean up, and then the property owners themselves can't do it because of those various reasons, which allow them to be eligible for the program. So we also have a code enforcement trailer program. So again, the goal is to establish a program for eligible property owners to provide property cleanup services. So just running through the quick process again. So review that complaint for garbage, refuse, debris, and abandoned vehicles. So code enforcement officer establishes that initial communication with the property owner. And then we pursue that again just to see if we can reach code compliance without using our resources. So we do try to take that stance, and then we kind of back it down again, and we kind of pull them into our services. It is important so that once that property owner is identified and they have a willingness, so this is a willingness to comply, they just either have a disability or a lack of funding to actually go out and do the cleanup themselves. So at that point, we can park the trailer on a Monday. They have family members, relatives, neighbors that want to help them clean up the property. They can load the trailer up as it a 6 cubic yard dump trailer, and then we'll pick it up on Friday. And then using the vouchers, which Waste Management granted us through the contract we have, we can go and take it to any transfer station in Lyon County and dump it. And again, no cost to the county. So this trailer program has been successfully implemented across 7 different properties, utilizing 30 vouchers. It's a little different. So the process, once we've used all the vouchers we haven't used up to this date, will be 1 voucher per property. But we do have a backlog because we didn't use in the previous years. So we have 52 vouchers there. And then Central Lyons Fire Protection Districts, their cleanup program did expire, so they gave us the rest of those vouchers. So we've been able to give properties multiple vouchers, and then we can make multiple trips. And that's been working great for us. We are excited also at the opportunity to take advantage of JPO services when it comes to providing additional resources to aid in the cleanup of these properties. So the goal again is to utilize the resources available to assist with the compliance efforts. So I'll just run again through the process of how we elect properties to be good candidates for this service. So we identify the property with a verified complaint. We again contact the property owner who is incapable of compliance efforts due to financial restrictions or disabilities. The property owner must sign a liability waiver, which the code enforcement officer walks through on site with that property owner in detail, and then they have to sign that. The property owner and code enforcement official will review the scope of work, so they'll walk around the property, verify what needs to be cleaned up, and that way everybody's on the same page moving forward. At that point, we'll schedule a date and time with the JPO crew boss. That crew boss then sends out a text message. It's a group text to all those juveniles within the program with the date and time, and then they choose whether or not they want to show up or not. Then all parties visit the property to fill the code enforcement trailer and utilize the voucher to dump again. So this program would be better utilized during the months when school is not in session. So right now we're limited to Friday afternoons, just keeping those kids in school. But once school is out of session, we'll be able to use those services more often. And then the safety, I do want to mention the safety of those JPO adolescents is of the utmost concern. And all the necessary safety equipment is supplied by the crew boss of JPO. The kids within the JPO program have been excellent to work with, and we hope to continue our working relationship and help those kids have more opportunity to attain their community service goals. So that's been a great program for us. The kids have been great to work with. And they've helped us stand for a lot of properties in the state. Apparently, I say a lot, it's only been 2. But like I said, as we get into summer months, we plan to use them more and more and more. And like I said, just give them more opportunities to get those community service hours. Next, I wanted to touch on 2 properties. One, we already visited in the board meeting, right? We declared it a public nuisance. So just wanted to highlight some total debris removed. So 255 cubic yards, which is approximately 57,375 pounds of debris taken off of that property. The program we utilized to do that was Central Lyon Fire Protection Districts. They called it the Fresh Start Urban Fuel Reduction Program. That status, so we did complete the cleanup. If we move forward, we have some before pictures. We can kind of see the extent of the garbage. And then the next slide, we have after the cleanup. So pretty substantial change. And no garbage has been put back in the property up to today. So we've been pretty good about staying on top of it. And the neighbor's been great. Resources for us to pull from too, just eyes in the neighborhood for us. Kind of a neighborhood watch program for that property. Next one, 4295 Angel Street, Silver Springs. Total debris removed 286 cubic yards, approximately 64,350 pounds of garbage, debris, refuse, you name it. This was a swap program project. Status is completed, and if we move forward in the slides, before picture, you can kind of see the extent. And this is only just snapshots. It really went across the whole property. And then again, if we move forward, we'll get into after. And the after. With that being said, that's kind of our program updates. Like I said, really appreciate all the county services available to us and all those grant funds, and continue to pursue grant funds to keep these programs active.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we had a workshop on possible changes to the county code, to put some more teeth in our.
Yep, so good news, we do have a draft finalized. It's going through internal review, and our goal is to get that within in front of you guys as soon as possible.
Very good, and thank you for really getting this going. These are great results.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it, and the community's been awesome to work with. As we all know, Silver Springs is a unique animal, but we'll get through as much.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Thanks. Yeah, and thank you for your great work. I had a question on Hart Street.
Yes, sir.
I've been by there. It looks fantastic compared to what it was, but is there anything else going to be going forward? I mean, now that it's all cleared, the trash is all gone, we can see they have generators. And I know there's no power, water, or sewer or anything. So what's the next
So we were
step
working with
there?
the Division of Manufactured Housing. They did grant them a period of time to where they could go in, because the inside of the home, I have not seen it explicitly. Joseph Sanchez has been there, law enforcement's been in there. You're talking garbage 6 feet high in there. They went in there, they weren't able to inspect anything. So at this point in time, they made the building substandard or uninhabitable. But they did give them, I believe it was 60 days to get the inside clean enough to where they could go in and re-inspect it and then kind of go from there. If that didn't happen, then the building would be condemned and nobody built in there in perpetuity.
And is that through Lyon County Code Enforcement, or is that's through the
Division of
state? That's through the state then, okay.
It's kind of that's a line in the sand. So they build everything on the building
Inside, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
But they are told anytime they make any cleanup efforts out there, we will pull the trailer in, they can load it up. Joseph needs to be on site when they do it, so we can see where things are going, and that they're not just being chucked out of the house and then
Then you gotta do it again.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jacobson. Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the report.
Yeah.
So after a voucher is used, you said the Hart
address is kind of monitored by Community Watch and making sure they're keeping that clean for the time being, but on these other properties where a voucher is used, is there an expectation that they keep their property clean and?
That's always the expectation.
And then how the expectation now, when the rubber meets the road, how does that?
It's a matter of staying on it. Right now, like we all know, the way the ordinance is written, the teeth aren't quite there to actually, have such a realized consequence for, taking
Right.
the same action on the same property. So right now it's just constant monitoring. So when Joseph's out there in the field, he makes sure he stops by, checks in on those properties, make sure that there's no debris. If there is debris, then obviously they get another violation and the process kind of just starts over.
And you read my mind on that, so we're keeping that in when we redo some of the teeth in this program, that
Absolutely.
that would be something we would include. Good, thank you.
Yeah, maybe. So I got a couple, the swap program is great, the JPO, what you're doing there, great programs, but what's the percentage that is more, criminal? That doesn't fit into these things, that you're getting the calls on?
Criminal, I would say 10% of the cases are actually criminal. It's hard for us to justify what's criminal activity and what's not, because really we're just looking at the exterior of the property. We don't really step into the bounds of interactions on the property. If there is a word on the street that there's violent members in the household, Joseph always makes a point to reach out to the sheriff's office and get an officer out there in the field with them in order to establish that contact. But from our experience, it's pretty limited. And if we ever get into that realm, we're pretty quick to reach out to the sheriff's office and get them pulled in to make sure we're all on the same page moving forward.
I just know a lot of substance abuse and stuff like that tends to lean that way.
If we're suspecting anything, we do pull on the most team to get them services, or at least allow themselves to have the opportunity to pursue those services.
Yeah, you could probably tell by the garbage, if it's all beer bottles, you kind of know which way they're headed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the JPO program, and a big part of that field visit before the kids get out there. Right, want to see there's no like paraphernalia that's blatantly obvious, needles, stuff like that. And like I said, the crew boss provides gloves, trash bags, safety glasses, so the kids are safe.
Any public comment? Anything? Thank you very much.
I can really need that.
Next item is you again. So for presentation by the Community Development Director on the current operations of the Lyon County Building Department. Go ahead, Gavin.
All right, so today we're just here to walk through an overview of the building department operations, explain the building permit process, current timelines, average timelines, and then those factors affecting the review times. And I'm here to answer any questions related to anything in PowerPoint or anything outside. So as far as an introduction to the Lyon County Building Department, our mission is to ensure safe, responsible development through the enforcement of the building codes and regulations. We are committed to providing professional, efficient service while maintaining compliance with adopted standards. I did want to highlight some key goals and missions that guide our daily operations. So we want to ensure public safety. So our top priority is always going to be protecting the safety of residents, businesses, and communities by enforcing building codes that promote structural integrity and hazard mitigation. Staff also prides ourselves in providing efficient and professional service. So we strive to offer clear guidance and timely assistance to residents, contractors, and developers throughout the building process. Our team is dedicated to maintaining a high standard of service. We also work to support responsible development. So growth is essential, but it must be balanced with compliance. We work to facilitate responsible development while ensuring all projects meet county, state, and national standards. Moving forward, as a building department staff, we look to foster collaboration. So communication between builders, developers, and residents is key to a smooth permitting and inspection process. We encourage open dialogue to help resolve a few issues in an efficient manner and improve community development outcomes. Our day-to-day operations include conducting thorough inspections. So safety doesn't stop at permitting. Our inspection process ensures that all structures meet required codes and maintain structural integrity, from start to finish. And then lastly, our mission is to maintain a dedicated and compliant staff. So our team remains committed to upholding public safety and compliance. We continually support, train, and update our knowledge to adapt to new codes, best practices, and evolve those needs to meet our communities. By adhering to these goals, Lyon County Village staff wants to help shape a safer and stronger and more efficient building environment for everyone in the county. I also want to note on the right side of the screen is just the adopted building codes that the county has currently adopted, which is the 2018 code cycle. So I wanted to talk about how our department is structured. This is just more for educational purposes. So the building department operates underneath the county manager with leadership from the community development director. Within our team, we have 2 administrative staff members, one of whom splits time between the planning and the building department. We have 1 code enforcement officer, 2 building inspectors responsible for conducting inspections throughout Lyon County, and 1 plans examiner who handles plan reviews to ensure projects meet all necessary standards. Now, I do want to acknowledge the kind of challenge we're currently facing. So we're down 1 inspector at the moment, and then to maintain efficiency and keep development moving forward, our plans examiner has taken a hybrid role, which means he's doing half the day inspections, half the day the plan review, and this is just temporary until that position is kind of rectified. So in changing that schedule or in changing that rule, we also had to change the schedule a little bit for our southern region. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday inspections those are inspection days for Silver Springs, and then Tuesday and Thursday inspections in Mason Valley, Smith Valley, and Wellington. And that's just so we're not we still have time to do our plan review as well as get those necessary inspections done. And that the 3 days to Silver Springs is just based on the volume differences. So we had more volume of inspections than Silver Springs and Mason Valley, Smith Valley, and Wellington. So 2 days versus 3 days. That's kind of the thought process there. Department responsibilities. So we do plan review, permitting, inspections, code enforcement, and then hours of operation. For anyone needing assistance, our office is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., excluding holidays. And as always, we encourage residents, contractors, developers to reach out with any questions about permits, inspections, and then code requirements.
Before it goes on to the last question, that kind of relates to that. Mr. Henderson, so we're talking about inspectors and being down some. Do they find that some builders are better than others, and really you go in and it's spot on and ready to roll, and others that are constantly trying to cut corners?
I'm sure. I mean, there's a standard of construction, and not everybody has the intent to meet that. So you're always going to have the case where one, and it's all based on quality, and quality is individual, right, for the contractor. So it's dependent, but we do see varying degrees quality construction, I would guess.
I would make it known to the building community that, you know what, the more time we got to spend on you, we're going to prioritize the ones that get it done right the first time. And we're going to bump those contractors, those builders to the front of the line every single time and push those back that you got to spend a ton of time on. And maybe they'll look in the mirror and fix it on their own, or they won't. We'll keep our good builders happy. Those that are doing it right, getting it done the first time. Those that aren't getting it done get put on hold until you can get to them. And I think that'll fix a lot of that problem.
And the process inherently kind of takes care of that itself, right? If we're going out there and you don't meet the minimum inspection standards, I mean, you get a failed inspection, and then you get to call us back, and then you're within the working queue at that point too. So it's duly noted, but like I said, the process inherently kind of takes care of that itself too. But I appreciate
Take care of the builders that are getting it done right.
Thank you.
What kind of how many times do you have to go out back just because they're all the builders?
Really, one of builders, it's not as much as you would think. Really, those corrections are just minor details that may be missing that. Sometimes it can be fixed while the inspector is there. Other times, we get to it usually next day. With this temporary schedule, I mean, you may fall into the, if we did it on Wednesday, okay, we'll be out there Wednesday. Kind of ordeal. Usually it's minute details that a contractor uses on a daily basis, the owner builder may not be aware of. And then, like I said, usually they can fix it when we're out there. If not, we just get it the next available time.
Good. That's all I had. So move on.
And then I just wanted to touch on the building permit process. Again, it's just more for educational purposes. So start out with a submission. So the first step is submitting your building permit application. Applicants can do this either online or in person at our office located here at 27 South Main Street in Yerington. For those submitting online, you can access that portal through the building department portion of the website. Once those applications are submitted, they go into initial review. And that's pretty much just a completeness review there. Are all your required documents there? Are they correct? Is the information correct? And then once it passes that, we take your first payment. And that first payment is the plan check fee and then administrative fee. And then once we have that payment, then it kicks you into the building plan review, which then you are sitting in the plan review queue at that point in time. I do want to know if plans don't meet minimum standards set by those adopted building codes, the applicant will receive a comment letter or correction note detailing the necessary changes. If the project requires on-site improvements, that permit will be forwarded to the county engineer for review. And if the project involves off-site improvements within the public right of way, it will be reviewed by Lyon County Utilities or their appropriate utility provider. And then additionally, Lyon County Roads Department will review approach permits for any work being done within the right of way. Once that review is completed, we go to the final review, and this is just to ensure that all the fees are properly calculated. And that's confirm that all the plans that have been approved are stamped in the system and available to the applicant. After that, we take final payment, and then once the final payment is received, we issue the permit. Moving forward, just wanted to touch on average review times, because I know we had some questions about that. So when it comes to permit review times, Lyon County is performing efficiently based on my assessment. And conversations with surrounding jurisdictions. So we're currently ranked among the top 2 in terms of turnaround time, even with our temporary schedule change and kind of halving the plan review time this just temporarily. So this slide outlines the review times for our 5 most relevant permit types. While timelines can be varied based on project complexity and workload, we remain committed to providing timely and thorough reviews to keep development moving forward. It's also important to note that the Lyon County Building Department continues to see an increase in building permit applications, which will inherently add projects to the process and ultimately to the queue for plan review. So I do want to preface that these times are average timeline. Some permits take less time, some permits take more time. And it all comes down again to the complexity of the permit workload and then some external factors, which I plan on mentioning in the next slide. I also want to note that previously review times were 1 to 2 weeks quicker. For example, a residential permit was 2 to 3 weeks for review. Even with half the amount of review time on this temporary schedule, we're still quicker and or comparable to surrounding jurisdictions. And again, this is only temporary schedule change just because we're down one inspection. So this is a kind of important note, and this is more for the public, contractors, owner builders. So as we look at plan review timelines, it's important to consider some of those external factors that are outside the county's control and more put on the applicant. So first, submission quality and completeness play a major role. When plans are submitted with missing or incorrect information, it leads to additional review cycles, incomplete documentation, such as missing structural calculations, or site plan can cause delays or unclear and inconsistent plans create unnecessary back and forth communication. Next, applicant response time is another key factor. So delays in addressing plan review comments extend the overall processing time, and resubmittals that do not fully resolve issues require repeated reviews. Proactive communication from applicants is essential, and we always encourage it again to keep the process moving forward in an efficient manner. Mid-review design changes can also slow things down. So when revisions happen during the review process, they require additional evaluation and can impact structural or zoning compliance. So frequent changes create conflicts between different aspects of the project, adding another point of complexity to the review. Also wanted to touch on coordination with third-party consultants. So this is missing engineer or architectural stamps, incomplete geotechnical or energy compliance reports, and poor coordination between designers and consultants. Those all can create additional delays. Code interpretation and alternative design can impact timelines if the applicant proposes deviation from the standard codes without clear justifications. This more falls in either the prescriptive code category, or we get into arguments whether our code interpretation is right versus yours. So it extends the review process. So the use of alternative materials or construction methods requires extra documentation. and any special approvals or special inspectors or variants introduce additional review steps. And then finally, so resubmittal quality and consistency make a big difference. Plans that repeatedly fail to address the same deficiencies increase turnaround time. Applicants still consolidate corrections that leads to unnecessary additional review cycles. Many of these issues could be avoided if we can always go into this, have meetings with applicants if they have questions. That's free service technically to provide at any point in time if they have questions, or if if we're working through a step in the review process that maybe we're all on the same page. We always encourage that. We're always available by phone, email, whatever it would be. We're definitely not a wall where you can't contact us. They're at the front counter always, when we have a willingness to answer any and all questions. So again, while our review team works efficiently, those external factors can significantly impact processing times. We encourage applicants to submit complete, well-prepared plans and respond promptly to review comments to help streamline our process and their process. This is inherently both the reason applications require longer processing times. And it's really at that initial review where we're saying if you got all your documents together, all the correct information together, and then in the plan review, where we're going back and forth with, we're seeing a lack of quality resubmissions or quality submittals in general. And those are kind of our most problematic areas, again, our quality applicant response times, resubmittal quality, and then overall submission quality. That being said, that's kind of all I had planned to talk about. Just an overview. And I know, like I said, we have some questions about plan review times, and just wanted to hopefully address those.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I have one question. We're currently under IBC 2018.
That's correct.
And there's also a 2021 and a 2024 edition out there. Is there any intention to move to the newer codes, or?
We're planning on bringing it forward. At the end of the day, it's the board's decision whether to move forward or not. We're kind of bringing forward the 2024 code cycle in July. Hopefully, if everything is approved, it would have a 6-month grace period. So January 1, 2026 would be the drop dead date, and everything coming in has to be to the new adopted code.
So your intention would be to adopt 2024 then?
Correct.
Being a contractor myself, is there any public input on that? I'm sure the development world has probably got things to say about.
Absolutely.
That, so.
We encourage it. We don't really the goal of the 2024 code adoption is to keep the county in compliance with grant funding.
Sure.
And all those, it does allow for there's more prescriptive code in there. So for the owner builder, for the contractors, they don't have to hire an engineer. So there's some money savings there, but we'll kind of go over more of that and it comes forward in July. But there's some benefits. There's always going to be downfalls at the end of the day. The energy code is one. It's hard. It's not very palatable right now. But again, that keeps us in compliance with that grant funding, which is.
So its target would be sometime in July.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what all the other jurisdictions, we've been meeting with them constantly about this. Bob Flores with the city, is kind of just spearhead. And that's what everybody's kind of fall in line with that timeline. And that way it's clean. That way, if everything is approved, January 1, it's a pretty concise date, and we can all move forward. I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a question too, because there's a big difference between rural and urban when we get into these codes. And is there rooms for exceptions for the county when we bring that forward?
So we do have the ability to amend codes. The energy code is a unique scenario because you can only amend it to be stricter. But all the other codes, we can always, there's the Northern Nevada amendments, and then the Lyon County, anything that we perceive as invaluable to our communities, we can always amend those out of code section.
So we'll have to work with fire department on some of these codes.
Yes. And they adopt their codes, and then we just follow suit. That way there's the consistency there.
Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know if that's a good process. Like this is, I have a problem with like the 5,000 square foot under roof.
Correct.
So and they approve it, and then I have a little problem with it.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes like in the electrical industry, they get ahead of the actual products being available.
Okay.
You know, the panels and stuff like that, so I'd like that to be looked at too. I don't have anything else. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, before we move on to number 13, utilities, it's 10:19. Take a break till 10:25. It's 10:25, we're back. Number 13, utilities, 13A for possible action to approve a capital expenditure of $36,800.97 to Western Nevada Supply from the Dayton Sewer Fund for materials needed to replace a portion of the effluent disposal line at the Rolling Meadow wastewater treatment plant irrigation fields. Mr. Burketta.
Chairman Keller, Commissioners, good morning, David Burketta for the record. So this is an unplanned capital expense. It's for some equipment out at the wastewater treatment plant in Dayton, out in the fields, the summer irrigation fields that we use. Every year we have equipment out there, and the pipe is just get beat up year over year with the horses out there. And it's this year the horses pretty much, well, not pretty much, the horses destroyed the line. And we're not able to repair them. So we need to get this equipment to repair a portion of the fields. And what we're doing is we're doing something a little different than we've done previous years to hold up to the horse traffic and, you know, how the horses interact with that reclaimed water line out there. So we're trying some pipe that we have in our inventory. They can't be used for anything else. It's much more rigid. What this is for all the equipment that's needed to be able to retrofit that pipe to be able to work with the irrigation system. So if this does work, then we'll plan this for future repairs out there for the extension of the irrigation system using this kind of a technology. So this was not a planned expense, but this is needed to replace what's been damaged. And there is funding in the Dayton Sewer Fund to be able to afford this. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments? Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve a capital expenditure of $36,800.97 to Western Nevada Supply from the Dayton Sewer Fund for materials needed to replace a portion of the effluent disposal line at Rolling Meadow wastewater treatment plant irrigation fields.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Brings us to 14. 14A for possible action to approve a conceptual amendment to Senate Bill 53 of the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature and direct staff to continue working on bill amendments as necessary to meet the overall objectives for the county.
Thank you, Commissioners. Taylor Ellison, Lyon County Emergency Management Government Affairs Director for the record. As you all are aware, this board approved a resolution to submit a bill draft request to the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature, which would essentially require the timely posting of road hazards and conditions. Since that BDR was submitted back on September 1st, we've learned a lot about GPS navigation systems, where they are currently, the Nevada 511 system. We've had several meetings with NDOT, and we've received feedback on our bill. So before you have a proposed conceptual amendment, which will address some of the feedback we've received. The conceptual amendment, as proposed, deletes sections 1 and 5. Section 1 in particular related to allowing local governments to post on the Nevada 511 platform. The justification for removing this section is after meeting with NDOT representatives multiple times. The platform is not quite ready to deploy in the sense that every county road, city road could be included in the platform, as well as allowing local entities to post road conditions. What we have worked with NDOT on, though, on the alternative in the meantime, is working at the county level to post emergency hazards. That does not require legislative change at this time. It also, they are interested in working on a pilot with Lyon County. Looking at our roads, in particular, the alternate routes to state highways such as Ramsey Weeks Cutoff and our favorite Miller Niazi intersection, which sparked some of these discussions for this BDR in the first place in posting timely road hazards and measuring that information to move forward with integrating more local governments into that platform. So that's section 1. Section 5 adds additional non-voting members to the Nevada Advisory Committee on Traffic Safety. Removing this section, the justification is that they have a hard time achieving quorum for this committee as it is. And to be frank, there's a lack of presence from the GPS navigation providers in our state. So it's very unlikely that they will participate in conversations we've had in regards to this bill. We don't want to cause undue challenges for the committee. And we'll continue to find ways to engage representation in our state. And section 6, the amendment revises the penalty provision to allow cities, counties, and regional transportation commissions to impose a reasonable fee rather than a mandatory civil penalty, which we originally submitted for $500 per day, that they don't meet the 48 hour posting requirement every day after. So this amendment will now read, cities, counties, and RTCs may impose a reasonable fee on a navigation provider who violates the provisions of subsection 3. And cities, counties, and RTCs may charge a fee only if governmental entity adopts a written policy, which provides a method for calculating the fee for the use of its personnel and equipment resources, and requires that only fees be charged for personal equipment resources used to address the road conditions reported in subsection 1. The justification is that this amendment ensures the provisions of SB 53 are applied effectively during emergencies and allow for government entities flexibility in enforcing compliance, while ensuring that any fees imposed are based on actual government resource utilization. We believe this is a reasonable approach. Some of the feedback we received in our bill hearing is, why can't counties take care of this on our own without involving the state? So by allowing the county to charge a fee, it gives the county the ability to do just that. And I will take any questions.
Any questions? I've got a question on Amendment 6. Won't that end up being potentially a lot higher than $500?
Correct.
I mean,
It's more reasonable on our end. It could be less, but for those long-term closures, it could be significantly more.
I guess what's the classification of the person that's sitting out there? Is it a sheriff's officer or is it a road department person that sits out there and tells them you can't go this way? Because they're not listening to the barriers or not paying attention to stuff. And also the towing, if they do go past, I mean, and how do you, I guess how, if they don't put it on there and they go past, but if they do put it on there and they go past, then it's on us. So I don't quite understand that completely, but I think it's going to be more.
Correct. And how it's written would align with our current rate schedule. So just like you mentioned, if we report and we now have the ability to say, we reported, you didn't pursue it, in that time we incurred this much staff time and equipment time against our rate schedule, you can go back and.
So you're just going to put in like a rate schedule and then we can discuss what is actually the rate schedule, because that'll change every year too, according to salaries and stuff. Fantastic. Any other questions? Okay, public comment? Nothing? Okay, we'll move on. 14B.
I'm sorry, sir, that was a possible action.
Oh, excuse me. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve a conceptual amendment to Senate Bill 53 of the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature and direct staff to continue working on bill amendments as necessary to meet overall objectives for the county.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. For possible action, discuss and provide direction to the county manager regarding legislation for the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature. Legislation includes Assembly Bills 127, 152, 247, 307, 316, 350, and Senate Bills 29 and 257.
Thank you again for the record, Taylor Allison. I will presenting an update on our Lyon County's priority bills for the 83rd session. So to give you just a brief update on what our legislative team has been doing, although many of you, all of you have been participating in some form or fashion. Our team is tracking currently, as of yesterday, over 520 bills. We are participating in weekly county lobbyists meetings with the other county lobbyists, NACO lobbyists, to develop strategy each week as agendas are dropped and we know which bills will be heard. We participate in the NACO Legislative Committee to provide context to commissioners that sit on that committee and conversations we're hearing. We often get to hear the why behind each of the bills as they're moving forward throughout the process. We participate in the Quad County Legislative Coalition with neighboring Carson City, Story, Douglas counties, and their, as well as their both internal and hired external contracted lobbyists. I did want to share this Monday was one of the first major deadlines. The legislator bill, all legislator bills needed to be introduced. So we saw over 100 bills introduced on Monday, and we're still sifting through and reading and triaging those to bring forward to the board in the future. So a few of the trends we're monitoring closely so far. There are several bills with removal impacts to county authority, in particular impacting community development, zoning. So plan to bring forward several new bills to future commission meetings that impact overall county commission authority. Several bills that have a cumulative impact to increases insurance costs or the Medicaid assessments that the county pays, county match to the Medicaid coverage. So we're working on all the county lobbyists doing a better job of telling our story of the overall cumulative impact. Several bills expanding private insurance will have an impact on our premiums, and more to come there. And then some other trends, there's several changes to public records and governmental process, employment laws, collective bargaining, public safety, elections, tax abatements, and a broad range of impacts, potential impacts. So the first bill to bring forward today is Assembly Bill 127. This bill makes an appropriation to the Office of New Americans in the Office of the Governor to provide grants to counties and cities to implement the language access plans. Language access plans were an unfunded mandate requirement to counties in the 2023 legislative session. So this bill would allow a one-time appropriation of $200,000 to allow counties to start the implementation process. It's essentially, it's some funding to help meet this requirement. Sorry, the last one was a staff recommended position of support, as it does allow us some funding to move it forward.
If anybody has a question as we go through each one of these, go ahead and raise your hand so we can just hit them right as we go instead of coming back to them.
Assembly Bill 152 provides that local government entity is exempt from having to provide a copy of public records that the local government is authorized to dispose of pursuant to the retention disposition schedule. So this bill was heard on Tuesday in Assembly Government Affairs. The bill sponsor is Assemblyman Ken Gray. Essentially will exempt the county from having to meet that quick 5-day requirement for public records requests that are stored beyond their retention schedule. We don't want to destroy every public record just because it's met its retention schedule. And for those that are not digitized, this can be a very cumbersome process on staff and county resources and trying to meet this requirement. So staff recommendation is to support this bill as introduced. during the hearing, they did include recommendation of an amendment that would do a may instead of shall. Assemblyman Gray included that in the hearing, but this is just to support the initial text as introduced, as we have not seen an amendment move forward. Assembly Bill 247. This bill has two parts. Section 1 provides that a reasonable effort is made to accommodate persons with physical disabilities, including without limitations, the provision of a registered sign language interpreter and communication access real-time translation at all public meetings. And then the second component is that provides buildings designed by the county after July 1 of 25 that are used for public meetings must include any equipment and software necessary for that CART translation services. This bill, NACO went up in neutral that it's restrictive to using in-person interpreters registered in the state. And with new technologies and other systems that are more efficient and less costly to counties, they recommended changing and modifying the language to be more broad to allow for access in a way that's the most cost effective.
I have a question on that one. It says registered sign language interpreter. What's a registered? Is there a scale?
It's a state registration process, so that would really be for in-person interpreters in the state of Nevada. By adding that language, it excludes like the language line services if the provider of interpretive services is maybe based outside of the state of Nevada, which is very common. And also we have a shortage of in-person interpreters in our state. And so it is very restricted language. We recommended opposing due to the cost of providing in-person interpreters when I think in communication with even the bill sponsor, there's other counties that have other abilities such as to provide closed captioning on screens and things that are less costly. And then the second part is could be very expensive to the county in capital outlay and impacts to facilities to allow for the CART equipment when new technologies such as AI translation services are fairly cheap, if no cost, and where the direction that they're headed.
That's where I was going with that. And Ed, I know we go out and oppose stuff, but at the same time, we work on amendments at the same time. Because if it does go through, we want it to be at least this. So both work oppose and work toward amendment, I guess, on it.
One thing I do want to point out on this is that this would not just apply to the county commission meetings, it would apply to all the citizen advisory board meetings, all the other boards that we have on a regular basis. So it would be very costly to do. The other thing is we already have a process for folks to, if they need a special accommodation, to reach out to the county manager's office and we can arrange that ahead of time. I've been county manager 2.5 years now. I have not had anyone reach out to me regarding assignment. So
I have one at Silver Springs Advisory Board for 15 years of chairing that. One request and the person didn't show up. So
I just wanted to throw that out there. This would, if this was passed as introduced, it would force us to do some restructuring of some of the meetings.
So that would be another amendment that maybe give us the 3-day advance notice on the need or whatever do. So I have, unless anybody else has something else. Fun.
Assembly Bill 307 eliminates excise tax revenues on wholesale cannabis from being distributed to the Cannabis Compliance Board and local governments. Staff recommendation is oppose this as it impacts county tax revenues on cannabis. We did include a fiscal note on this one. This one has a for the biennium $176,470 fiscal note is what our comptroller proposed. We'll be working closely with the bill sponsors and NACO addressing any impacts to tax revenue.
So on that one, so what they want to do is take away the taxes from not quite understanding what they're doing.
I don't have the full bill language in front of me, I apologize, but essentially it's the wholesale cannabis tax in its entirety, or removes that entire section.
So it's tax free.
On the wholesale, not the retail side.
I'm trying to go back on it. The original taxes on that stuff was for education and it never, I mean, never went to it anyway.
That's, I got a question on that. The way this, summary reads, it's not saying it's eliminating the tax revenue, it's eliminating the distribution, to the local government. So if we're not getting that, who are they proposing is gonna get it?
Again, apologize, I don't have it in front of me. I believe it goes to the education fund for the retail side. And I'd have to look into it further on the wholesale side. It just kind of eliminated that section in our summary in its entirety on the wholesale side. So, but I can get back to you with more information.
Thank you.
So this one, Assembly Bill 316 has had some changes since we included it on our agenda. It requires the Board of County Commissioners to appoint a non-voting pupil trustee from grades 11 and 12 to School District Board of Trustees. Originally, we had some significant concerns about this. It would require the county commission to not only appoint a pupil, but also there were cost concerns around the election for the nominated pupils that would go into the board. So the bill sponsor during the bill hearing on Tuesday afternoon did include an amendment which would place the appointment of the pupil under the Board of Trustees and change some of our other concerns, which was the language originally had the pupil had all the same authority, including sitting in closed sessions as a Board of Trustee, and that has now been stricken in the amendment. So the recommendation now is to stay neutral upon acceptance of the bill sponsor's conceptual amendment that was proposed during the hearing on this. And I'll take any questions. This one's a tough one because other counties have policies and engaging county school districts already have some policies in engaging pupils in the process, such as White Pine and Washoe County. They have non-voting pupils. And so I think the intent was to codify that in statute for all county school districts, but we have had concerns on the impacts to the county commission.
Yeah, I think that our school board allows somebody to sit up there, but participate, but not. It's just participate, and I kind of like that, but not. I might even be against it, but
They do at each meeting, they move from community to community and they have one student from that school participating in every meeting.
so give me policy, and I think that's more of a direction, but we'll see what amendments coming forward to. Thank you.
I guess just a couple concerns the way this is presented will be obviously closed sessions on other students. And is that going to be addressed? And then just transportation, if it's one kid, we have several different 5 different high schools. So how do we pick, and then transportation from when those school meetings move around, transportation of that student, how we're getting them there.
That's a great point. The amendment that was proposed during the hearing does include a stipend or participation in at least 75% of the meetings. The student would receive a stipend. So again, we'll keep monitoring that amendment if it moves forward and is accepted through the committee process. So I think that would help. But yes, not having the actual transportation for students.
So now it's stipend, and now you got to worry about discriminating against one over another and selection process. I would think this would be a very slippery slope.
Okay, Assembly Bill 350.
This bill also has two major components that would impact the county, also known as the cemetery bill, as we've been calling it. We've been spending a lot of time on this one. Section 1 of this bill requires the cemetery board authority must petition the district court for an order authorizing the disinterment or removal of remains. Starting at section 1 for that one, the premise of this bill is that a body was exhumed from a cemetery without notifying the families. This bill is being carried by the ACLU. And so they also included section 5, which requires the owner of the cemetery to keep the cemetery in an orderly condition, changes the definition of orderly condition, and authorizes the county commission to enforce these new standards. In reading the bill, the initial text that was submitted was very restrictive. For example, any grass in a cemetery would have to be mowed below 4 1/4 inches. And all tombs, monuments, and gravestones must be properly placed. So we spent a lot of time working on this bill and with the ACLU on potential conceptual amendment. This bill will be heard tomorrow to include that only requests for exhumations that are not done by a family member or the legal representative of the estate would have to go through the petition process of the district court. We kind of stayed out of this one because in speaking with Doug Homestead, we have not moved a body in any of the county-owned cemeteries in recent history. So there were minimal to no impacts for Lyon County for that particular section. Now, section 5, which changes the definition of orderly condition. We did have, of course, challenges with this one. So the conceptual amendment language that ACLU is bringing forward and that they've agreed to is much broader. It does carve out cemeteries owned by cities, counties, and veteran cemeteries, or those that are federally funded. So it carves out the Veteran Memorial Cemetery in Burnley from meeting these new requirements. And it also carves out or will carve out historic sites and those that are designated historic monuments. So the recommendation is to oppose the initial text as it was submitted, as we will have significant impacts to our county cemetery facilities. And that if that amendment does move forward, just approved.
Any questions? I have one, oppose me, that's fine, but if we'll have to make a change, an amendment, I'd like to see that the orderly condition be done by county, in county codes, not by state, and not in this regulation, but refer to a county code so that counties, independent counties can make their own decisions of what happens in their cemeteries.
Yes, and we did provide that from the county perspective. Washoe County, Clark County, myself, and NACO provided that information, as well as having a process to abate nuisance private cemeteries as they exist in other counties. So that we have not seen the final amendment. We'll likely see it as part of the hearing tomorrow, but that language was proposed to be included.
And excuse me, I was reading while you were talking, so you might have said something and I might have missed it. What about the historic cemeteries, or is that any different consideration?
Yes, so we requested a carve out for historic sites, and even to nail it down even further, resetting gravestones and monuments in historic sites or that are historic markers. We did get the feedback from Story County as well as Silver City Cemetery, but none of those standards apply to city or county. The enforcement of those standards does not apply to city or county, and now veteran and federally funded cemeteries under the new language.
Thank you.
Senate Bill 29 requires Medicaid to develop and implement accountable care organizations. The system must include incentive payments and other value-based payment arrangements. This is in Senate Committee on Health and Human Services. The reason I brought this one forward is that second bullet, the system must include incentive payments and other value-based payment arrangements. We're looking at potential impacts to county match for Medicaid. There are several bills. So we have created a tracking process just for bills that would potentially impact our Medicaid assessments. So that I can work closely with county manager and comptroller Foley to put together cumulative impacts that we can bring forward to the board. So we would oppose this one based on those impacts. And then finally, Senate Bill 257 expands the providers of healthcare for the treatment of autism spectrum disorder. This is another example. While great in intent in providing more coverage for a vulnerable population, this expanded definition of providers for the assessment and treatment of autism spectrum disorder could result in insurance premiums for the county rising by 3 to 7% as a result, as the additional employer-sponsored health plans must cover treatment of up to $72,000 per individual. This is one of several insurance coverage bills that we're monitoring closely. And then there are significant concerns for benefit caps on basic needs and basic coverage in the current insurance plans and benefits that are negotiated through the collective bargaining process.
Any questions? We have Commissioner.
Thank you. So this would possibly increase healthcare, but would that trickle down to the employees increase as well?
So it expands coverage for a particular assessment and treatment of a specific disorder, but the concern is that it could, with all of these proposed increases, and particularly this one, because this is one of the largest ones, there's another one related to obesity, could impact premiums for the basic health coverage that we're receiving currently.
So it would possibly increase for the employees as well.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Without significant impact.
Not just the county, but it would trickle down to employees or whoever's on our health.
And the challenge with this one in particular is the expanded provider definition. So not just a physician or even a physician's assistant. The definition of provider is so broad in who can assess and treat, which I'm sure there's great reason to that, but the fiscal impacts for the county are significant. We are recommending opposed as introduced due to the significant fiscal impact.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
To direct staff to proceed with the staff recommendation on each of these bills.
Second.
Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Castellano. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. For possible action, number 14C, for possible action, approves the adoption of the Lyon County lobbying policy and associated 2025 legislative principles for the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature.
Again, last one, Taylor Allison for the record. Because the county chose, and we're very grateful to go in-house for lobbying services, it's appropriate that we brought forward a policy and what lobbying should look like, was appropriate and best represents the county. Worked closely with other counties that have internal lobbyists and looked at what their policies included to formulate the policy that's in front of you today. And then I can move to the legislative principles. Also, this is a concept that Washoe County put together to allow the lobbyists to work and have conversations, discussions that align with principles that are approved by the Board of County Commissioners, representing key issues, not only that reflect in trends in the legislature, but that we work on every single day as county department heads and leadership to further advance
The principles are intended to support Lyon County's vision of sustaining, strengthening, and further advancing the health, safety, cultural heritage, and prosperity of each of our communities throughout the county. Some of the principles listed here relate to taxation, land use issues, water issues, adequate public safety resources, administration of safe, secure, and accurate elections, social service issues, housing issues, and public employment issues. And then further into the document, you see that we have outlined specific principles such as effective communication, cooperative legislative relations, board direction, local control and decision making, and then unfunded mandates, just to hit some of the high level ones. So the goal with the principles is this would guide this particular legislative session, and then for future sessions, we would bring forward updated principles that match where the county is going at that time ahead of the session to drive discussions in regards to those.
I'm looking through there on the policy. None of the policy affects the county commissioner, right? That we're being held to a standard. I'm like looking at report all legislative activities to the government affairs director. And sometimes we have personal conversations and stuff with.
Which I do believe, and I don't know where we included it. But this came up in conversation about representing professional associations or elected officials speaking on their behalf, not in the majority position of the board. And then just kind of relaying those positions back to the government affairs director and county manager. So we're aware of what all of your elected
Communications with you, but not everything that we talk about, because some of that stuff is where we're working through stuff. People come up and give us amendments that haven't been approved. Like I know of a couple of amendments that are out there right now, but they're not out publicly because they're still working through the amendment process. So I don't want to complicate everything by bringing back stuff that isn't approved yet, accepted or they're still negotiating, I guess. So that's all. I just don't want to restrict us from our efforts.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So it's also more to protect against, just say somebody has a different opinion than the bills that we just went through. Let's say some elected official has a different opinion on that bill than what the board has adopted, the majority of the board has adopted. We want to know about that. Obviously, they should not be entering that opinion on behalf of Lyon County, right? That's the board's job, and Taylor will do that.
No, I agree with that part. We work as a board.
So that's where we want to know, though, we would want to know, hey, I'm gonna go and testify in favor of something when we were opposed to it. Not that it necessarily changes it, but.
Okay, I was just that word in report all legislative activities. And to me, that is an activity of, you see what I'm saying? If I'm out there,
Yes.
I have meetings constantly, so.
I got it.
So I guess I have a question then. So is conflict of interest addressed in here for, we have to disclose that as a board here, but what if it's a conflict of interest when you're at the legislature?
That is certainly something we can include, that we disclose conflict of interest. It does include that anyone that is lobbying must go through the registration process with LCB, and part of that is you have to do a mandatory ethics training, which requires that you disclose.
So
by fulfilling
our council, our commission has had that, and while we're over there in Carson?
No, not for elected officials are not required to go through the process. So we can clarify it in policy today.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So that was my question, kind of touching on that, was this provides for two commissioners as liaisons for the legislative team. Would those commissioners then have to register as a lot? They don't have to register as lobbyists.
Elected
Okay.
officials do not.
Any other comments? So my goal was not just to not put handcuffs on us, but we do work as a board, so you know which direction we're going, so if we can clarify that in the policy. Because we still have to be active as political entities.
I think that was the goal for all county elected officials. Just to encourage communication, but understanding that the positions may not always align with the majority board position. So we can make those changes.
So is there a way to make a motion with that understanding to be done? So or else do you want to bring this back? I was like, it's just gonna happen. I'm not pushing it through today.
We can.
Okay, yeah, I think I recommend us bringing it back with some clarified language on that, and unless you have some language that you specifically want to put in your motion.
If it's not gonna hurt anything, I would entertain a motion to bring it back. We have any public comment on the subject? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. Any more comments or a motion?
Move to direct staff to bring this back to us with the proposed changes for further review.
I'll second that. So is moved by Commissioner Hendricks, seconded by Commissioner Keller. Those in favor say aye. Motion passes 5-0. Moving to agenda request. Administrative policies and procedures, 1.05, the commissioner member or elected appointed department head may request an item be considered on a future agenda either by making an oral request to the county commission meeting or submitting a request in writing to the county manager at least 30 days prior to the meeting for which the item is requested to be placed on the agenda. Do we have any? Mr. Hendricks.
Just waiting to buy.
So are we gonna bring the stuff we just did for the bills, Senate bills and stuff? Is it, that's gonna be every meeting that's gonna be on our agenda? So we don't have to tell you, but there's probably gonna be a couple more numbers that are gonna go on there. So we could just add that.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. If any member of the board would want a specific bill to be discussed, please let me know in advance because we do have to agendize it that way. So we can't just do a blanket thing, but.
Well, that might be a good BDR that we get changed.
Yeah, I was just looking at the 30 days and stuff, so we'll just keep.
Yeah, I mean, for something like that, we can, the legislature stuff kind of takes priority, so.
Thank you. Any
time frame.
Any agenda requests? Okay, seeing none, commissioner comments. Well, commissioner comments. Public participation. Back to public participation, do we have any? Seeing none, we'll move on to closed session pursuant to NRS 241.153B2 to receive information from the district attorney or counsel regarding potential existing litigation involving the matter to which the board has supervision, controls, jurisdiction, or advisory power, and to deliberate toward a decision on the matter and pursuant to NRS 288.220 to receive a party report on the status ongoing labor negotiations, direct staff query. So we're going into closed session. Right.
So if we could close out the normal meeting.
Oh, man, it's adjourned. 11:11.